Hi everyone, and welcome back to Weather for Weather Geeks, the Tuesday evening edition here on the 13th day of June 2017. An active day today in parts of the region and a big day in terms of temperatures today. So let's talk about temperatures first and kind of recap the day today. A new record high today. Temperatures spiked early this afternoon. It's not often we set a record high at 12:42 in the afternoon, but that's what we did today. 92 degrees, beating the old record of 91, which was last reached in 1984. 91 has been reached a couple of times on this date, but most recently in 1984. Last year, we were only this hot one day. That was July 23rd, so today was the hottest day since July 23rd of last year. Only one day as hot as today, all of 2016. You may be aware that there's actually a technical definition of a heat wave. In our part of the country, it's generally thought of as 3 consecutive days of 90-degree plus temperatures. We haven't had one in a while. It's actually been since July 17th through the 19th of 2013 since we've had an official heat wave here in Youngstown. So last summer we had a lot of days between 85 and 89 degrees. It was a hot summer, but it wasn't an extremely hot summer. It wasn't a summer full of extremes, in other words. A lot of days in the upper 80s. Last time we had 3 in a row in the 90s, way back in 2013. And when we look back at the last 5 years, not counting this year, it's been since 2012 since we had a temperature warmer than today. We hit 92 today. We had 92 one day last year, but in 2015, 2014, 2013, our hottest temperatures for the whole summer were between 89 and 91. Hot summer back in 2012. You may remember that scorcher of a summer back in 2012. 98 degrees on July the 7th. That was some kind of summer. Thankfully, we've not had one like that since 2012. All right, heat index today was, of course, through the roof. At the airport, the heat index peaked at 94 in the 2 o'clock hour, but some local heat indices certainly were a little higher than this afternoon. I saw a few numbers pretty close to the century mark earlier on today. All right, off of the heat and talking about the precipitation today. None this evening. Turned out to be a pretty tranquil evening after a stormy afternoon for some. This radar loop takes us back 6 hours, and I'm going to kind of rewind and show you when we had the worst weather around the valley. This was in the 2 o'clock hour. We had a hail-producing storm that cruised across Route 30 in Columbiana County from Hanoverton over to Lisbon, and it kept on chugging into the eastern part of the county, continuing to produce some hail as it did so, and then this ended up being kind of a messy situation in parts of Lawrence and Beaver County in PA, counties, I should say, in PA. If you look at the hail tracks, the hail tracked right across central Columbiana County into the eastern part of the county, probably peaking with hail sizes of up to an inch or so. Now, our hail algorithm, we usually have to kind of divide by half. It more so measures the size of the hail perhaps in the cloud than what actually hits the ground. So we, as a general rule, kind of divide what it's showing by half. And I think there was some, quite a few quarter-size hail reports. Not a lot called into the Weather Service, but I suspect a lot of this was quarter-size hail in eastern parts and central parts of Columbiana County. And over in Lawrence County, there was an official report from Elport, 1-inch size hail called into the Weather Service in Pittsburgh. Pretty good hailstorm over in Stark County earlier on today as well. Almost an inch diameter hail in the Waynesburg area. A lot of heavy rain across parts of the region over the last 24 hours, and especially in the last 6 or 7 hours. They're still getting pounded out west. Mansfield, heading over towards the Lima and Toledo areas. Closer to home here now, these Doppler radar estimated rain totals are contaminated by hail when hail occurs. So we have to take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. But still, it's possible that some rain gauges read up to an inch or so in parts of central Columbiana County, maybe up to 2 inches in Lawrence and Beaver counties, where there was a flash flood warning out earlier on today. All right, tomorrow, this front, which is just off to our north, is going to sag south. Now, this is a pretty diffuse front. There's not a big air mass change on either side of this, but it's a front nonetheless. The more significant air mass change, the drier airs up in Canada. As you can see, even up north of the front in places like Rochester, dew points are still up in the 60s. It's a pretty sorry excuse for a front, but this is going to sag in tonight. And tomorrow it's going to kind of hang out and stall across the region. Now, where exactly it stalls will kind of dictate where thunderstorms are more likely tomorrow, and I think right now it's looking like that's probably southwest of Youngstown. I think it's more likely to rain tomorrow in Akron and Canton and Mansfield, in Dover and New Philly than it is around and north of Youngstown. I doubt it rains much at all in places like Sharon, Greenville, New Wilmington, Grove City, etc. Mahoning County, Columbiana County, Trumbull County, kind of right on the border of where it's likely to rain and not likely to rain. So stay up on the latest forecasts tomorrow. It may turn out to be a pretty uneventful day, but it also could turn kind of active just depending on where you are and where exactly that front decides to stall out. And that's something, unfortunately, we're not going to know until probably tomorrow morning. Thursday, though, the front retreats off to the north as a warm front. It's going to be a soupy day, and I do think it gets pretty active Thursday afternoon with a couple of rounds of showers and some thunderstorms. Now, Friday looks better. It's going to be a hot day Friday. Upper 80s, still a decent amount of humidity in the air. Dew points will probably come down a little, but I suspect most of Friday is rain-free to wrap up the week. Backing up to tomorrow, our overall rain chances, it's hard to broad brush it. We've got a viewing area of 4 or 5 counties, and in Mercer County, it's probably only 20% your chance of rain tomorrow, and it may be up to 60% in parts of Columbiana County. So as an average, this is what I did for the hourly rainfall odds tomorrow. Check your Storm Tracker 21 hour-by-hour forecast for your location to see what we're thinking as far as hour-by-hour rain chances tomorrow. Storm Prediction Center does have us in the low-end risk of severe weather again tomorrow. My suspicion is that you're going to see this adjust a little bit tomorrow morning. And I suspect they're going to bring the dark green area more to like right here. I suspect parts of our viewing area will be taken out of that low risk. And it'll be more focused out towards central Ohio. That's tomorrow. And then on Thursday, the old day 3 bug got me here. Well, believe me when I tell you, we're in the marginal risk or the low-end risk again for severe weather on Thursday. There's very little wind in the atmosphere. Going upstairs even. And so these will be slow movers, whatever forms tomorrow and on Thursday. Flash flooding will remain a concern, hail a concern, not crazy concerned about wind. It's probably a lower tier threat. It's more hail and perhaps some flash flooding in any storms, particularly on Thursday. Soupy air mass sticks around through the weekend. Very humid this weekend. We'll push up to 90 again, I think, on Saturday and get fairly close to that on Sunday, depending on the timing of storms. I think Sunday for Father's Day is the most active day in terms of thunderstorm activity. Here's Sunday. This is where our front is going to be approaching from the north and west, and I think it gets pretty active and maybe even some strong storms on Sunday. But this is the front that's going to change the pattern, and whoosh, here comes the dry air for early next week. 8 to 14 day outlook. I like this. I'm not a fan of today's heat and humidity, so the 8 to 14 day outlook is more favorable. And when we look beyond this even, into the 14 to 28 day outlook, a lot of the modeling is suggesting it's not super crazy warm. So we may be in the middle of our hottest stretch of weather for the first half of the summer season. We might not see a stretch like this again until later in the summer. I think starting next week and taking us through much of the rest of June, it'll be a relatively comfortable pattern overall. Maybe a hot day sprinkled in, but overall the pattern will not be all that hot. That's the way it looks right now. Thanks for watching tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Check out my forecast tonight, 21 News at 11, and I'll see you back here tomorrow evening.